Our next speaker, Stephane Monsallier. He's from EO Shanghai. From a coding whiz kid at 10 to an APAC tech leader. Our next speaker, his journey is very impressive. A graduate of a French top computer science school, Stephane bridged the gap between tech and business, fueled by critical thinking and an fluency in both languages. Now, the language, will it be French or will it be Chinese? Something that we can find out. After climbing the corporate ladder, he chased the Asia bug. He founded a company called System in Motion in 2003. His talk is on entrepreneurship and how to create new business models to support these new entrepreneurs and new businesses. Stephane, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me, Robert?
Yeah, but I don't see you, but I see... Yeah, okay. Welcome to the show. What made you think or start working in the field of AI?
Well, actually, I've been on the AI bandwagon for 30 years because that was my major in university. And that bandwagon has been becoming suddenly very crowded with a lot of people who catch up interest in the last 6 months.
So you can be called and defined as the true expert and not an AI enthusiast, I guess.
You can call me an AI dinosaur if you want. That will be kind of, yeah.
So I'm kind of curious, what brought you to Shanghai?
Love.
Well?
Love.
Love. Oh, love brought you. Okay. Yeah, love for the food or if you so you're located in Shanghai. So how would you characterize the current level of artificial intelligence in China?
It's trying to catch up. I mean, there are some parts of the AI are like above the rest of the world, and some part of the AI are trying to catch up. So it's a cat and mouse game between what's happening outside of China and what's happening inside of China.
So is there a clear difference?
Yes, I would say AI is pretty much advanced in facial recognition. Now, I mean, any camera who has facial recognition capabilities is coming and is being manufactured in China. But on the LLM model, on the other side, the Chinese LLM model are trying to catch up. And even in Chinese, they are not there yet compared to a GPT-4, but they will catch up eventually.
So the progress is advancing very rapidly. Stephane, yes. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I would like first to start with a quote or more a prophecy from a person that I admire a lot, which is Peter F. Drucker. At the twilight of the 20th century, he wrote a book that is called Management Challenges from the 21st Century, and he predicted that the 21st century would be the age of productivity for knowledge worker. And I truly believe that this is what generative AI is bringing us. A level of productivity that we've never experienced before. And this is what I'm doing for myself as a CEO, and this is what I've pushed my team to do. And we're trying to also to help as many companies as we want get those productivity gains from generative AI. So first of all, I'd like to go with a few misconceptions that I hear a lot about large language model. First one, that it's a search engine. The second one, it knows everything, that it read the whole internet. And the third one, that it's creative. It is not a search engine by itself. It is involved in a technology that is called RAG. But when you're using ChatGPT alone as an LLM, it doesn't search new information. It knows everything. Quite the contrary, I'm convinced that it doesn't know anything. And it's just recreating the illusion of knowledge based on what is only and purely a language model. As for creativity, it is debatable. I won't go into too much of that because there are many talks about marketing later on, and I'm very interested to see their point on this one. Here is the simplest model of an LLM that you can find, that we could figure out. If you give an LLM a beginning of a sentence, I will see you tomorrow at, it's going to use statistics to determine what is the next word, and then the next, and the next, and the next, and the next. So it's basically a predictive model purely based on statistics, that is giving you the most likely answer based on the understanding, a general understanding of language model. And together it has captured, I would say, general knowledge that has been there, and recreating it anytime you give it a prompt. It's important to have that very, very simple model in place whenever you figure out something that works or doesn't work with LLM. Now, what do we use generative AI? So in my company, we use it for everything. I use it a lot in strategy. I use it a lot in sales, in marketing. I use it to summarize documents. We use it on the legal side. We use it to check consistency of documents. So we've decided to publish some of those use cases. So we regularly publish 250 use cases, and now we're starting to add workflow to it. So you can scan the QR code that is there. You get access to our newsletter, and you get access to all the new version of that document, which we've decided to give to the world to help everybody improve their way of using LLM, but also to get a lot of new ideas about how they can leverage it to increase their productivity. So the answer for that productivity is, of course, prompt engineering. So we came out with our universal framework of how to design a prompt with LLM. And we make it, again, as simple as possible and as easy as possible to remember. We call it the ERCFC model. So designing a prompt with GPT with the goal in mind that you want a good answer in only one prompt. You don't want to go through a long discussion. You get in, ask a prompt, you get the answer you want, and you get out. So E stands for example, what other people also call zero shot, one shot, few shots. Sometimes it's easier to show the language model what you want than to explain it in so many words. The second one is a role. So we give it a role. As a marketing expert, 10-year experience, as a consultant from a Big Four, this is my favorite. Then you give it a context. This is where most professionals, most knowledge workers usually make a mistake. They don't give enough context because they think the model will understand what they mean. And then the format, if you want 50 words, 100 words, 200 words, you want it as a CSV because you want to make it an Excel file. And finally, a command, a very specific command of what you want the machine to do. Because at the end, the true revolution of LLM and generative AI is that not everybody can control computer and everybody can give orders to the computer. In the past, you needed a developer to do that. Now you can do it yourself. So it's really command-oriented. What do you want the machine to do for you? So this is actually the basis of what we call the generative AI value stack. The bottom of the base of that pyramid is use cases, individual tasks. I want to do one thing, I make a prompt, I get a result, I'm done. Then above that, we have workflows. I want to do I want to achieve a more complex objective, and I have several steps to go through. We'll call that a workflow. And then we have AI transformation, and finally, the holy grail of new business model. So workflow, I'll give you an example. Since we heard a lot about healthcare, this one is also in healthcare. I want to create a white paper based on the market trend. I can get a document about that topic. I can use generative AI to detect interesting trends in this document and summarize it for me. Based on that, I can use prompt engineering to create the outline of my white paper. And then I can use prompts again to fill in every single part with an interesting paragraph. At that point, the expert needs to validate the information, and they probably need to inject their own ideas. Then they'll use generative AI again to proofread it and fix any mistakes they can have. Then we can use generative AI to generate potential cover for my white paper. And finally, the most important part, I'm going to generate a very interesting title for my white paper. I put everything together. We estimate that this use case can save 30 to 40% to an expert going from finding an idea to a finalized white paper. This is what we mean by workflows. Using different types of GenAI, chaining it, and getting an even higher productivity gain. AI transformation. For us, AI transformation is when we have AI and classical IT collaborating together. So meaning you start with a CRM, you go find information on LinkedIn, you scrape a website, you use generative AI, and you put back the result back into your CRM. This is the full workflow that is going back into your information system and stitching all this transformation ability that we have with data that is already in your company and that needs to stay in your company. And finally, the one I promised at the beginning, business models. So how do we create new business model thanks to generative AI? So first of all, we have to look at the stack. What is the technology stack? The underlying technologies are all the large language model. As entrepreneurs, I don't think we can go into that business. It's extremely expensive, or it's a research product, as we saw for Erasmus. Then we have infrastructure that runs these LLMs. Again, I don't think any of us in EO or YPO can go into the infrastructure business. What's left to us are business model that we can build on top of that. And what I want to do using generative AI is to build a business canvas that is possible today because we have generative AI, but was not possible last year because we didn't have that technology. How do I do that? First, I want to understand what doors generative AI has opened and how do I find these new opportunities that didn't exist. And we do it in 3 steps. The first one is to understand what is the technology enablement. The technology enablement of generative AI is that every customer can have a unique digital experience. And I generated that with the prompt that you can see at the bottom. The second one is now that we have the technology enablement, what is the barrier that we've removed? The barrier we've removed is the scalability of customers' experience. In the past, if you wanted to have VIP experience, customers' experience, you need to have 1 employee interactive with 3 or 4 customers. Now you can have generative AI interactive with 100 customers, 1,000 customers at the same time, and giving them a completely unique experience. So finally, what is the best candidate? So there, I'm using, again, prompt engineering, and I choose healthcare because I had to narrow it down. So what would be the best candidate for a new business model in the healthcare industry? Again, you have the prompt at the bottom. Healthcare can offer personalized medicine at scale without increasing the cost of treatment. So this is the idea, this is the candidate of a new business model that we couldn't do before, and we can do now. We have generative AI. So with 3 prompts, I can get from not really knowing what I want to do to something that is interesting. And of course, for the last one, it's better to have 5 or 10 candidates and to use your expertise in your own industry to figure out the one you think is reasonable. Because again, as I said earlier, generative AI are not really good at creativity. And I think the creativity is always on this side of the screen. And in creativity cases, we will go with longer lists and we'll ask for different ideas. And we say, I want a little bit more of that, or I didn't really like it. And then you will guide and the creativity will be injected by the user, by the expert, by the specialist into the output that you get in generative AI. So the next step, if you want a business model, the next important step is what is your revenue model? And again, I want to use generative AI again. So this time you see the prompt on the right side. I'm asking ChatGPT, what are possible innovative revenue models that I could apply? And inside the prompt, this is what we call prompt chaining. I'm using the result of the previous prompt, which was personalized treatment plans, improved diagnostics, and reducing waiting time. This is what another prompt I did to see what would be the impact of medicine at scale. So I'm taking that result, put it back inside another prompt. And now what I'm getting out are subscription-based model, premium charge for expedite diagnostic, and pay-per-use model. So now I have an idea, medicine at scale without increasing the cost of treatment. I have products and I have a revenue model. Again, I'm taking all those elements and I do prompt chaining. And I have a global prompt where I'm going to put everything back inside to design my business canvas. And I just need to copy and paste the results. And business canvas is something that is known. It's general knowledge. GPT is very good at producing all this consulting stuff, business canvas, SWOT, all this kind of competitive analysis. These are part of the general knowledge that GPT has. So I give you very quickly an example in healthcare. I'm not an healthcare specialist, so maybe it's completely wrong, but the few people in healthcare I showed them too, said that it's not that stupid, so I'm pretty proud of it. But a word of caution, very important word of caution, don't do this at home. If you're not a healthcare specialist, don't try to play with fire the way I did it. Only use these generative AI and these LLM into a domain that you know, that you are an expert in. Because something that was said already in the previous, in different forms in the previous talk, I always say that with generative AI, there needs to be a human at the beginning, and there needs to be a human at the end. There needs to be a human at the beginning, because otherwise there's no impulse, there's no vision, and there's no purpose. Without a human at the beginning, nothing happens. The technology just sits there waiting for somebody to ask a question. And there always need to be a human at the end, so far, in everything I've seen. Because it's not perfect, because it doesn't always give the perfect answer. It doesn't always give the most interesting answer. So only use LLM in your own company for things you know, and only give these tools for people who are already good at this. Because generative AI will make top performance perform even better, but it will not make a low performer individual suddenly become a high performer. So now I'm really happy to take some questions that you have about my experience with generative AI, how we see the future of it, and how we came out with all those crazy ideas.
Thank you, Stephane. The question that pops into my mind is how can where do you think that GPTI and LLM models will generate or generate a competitive advantage that is sustainable over time in the business function? So if you look at the traditional value chain of a company, where do you think the most value is being created by using AI?
Okay, so somehow two different questions. If we're talking today, the two areas of business where generative AI will be the most useful, the way that we identify, are on one side human resource, and the other side everything that is legal. Why? Because these two departments in company, or these two functions, they have to manage a lot of unstructured data, a lot of documents, and a lot of text. And these two departments also have a lot of repetitive tasks. Now, is it going to be a sustainable advantage? It won't, because you do it first, maybe in your company, but then one day your competitor is going to use it as well. So it's more, are you the first one to adopt it in your own industry, or are you the last one? And you don't want to be the last one.
Edward?
Now, we had a discussion while you were talking about a possible loop in the system. If you feed your LLM with the same data it extracts data from, what are the risks of that?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Okay. If you train your model both on the data you have put into it, but also take the model that is generated by the LLM and also use it, because I believe you were speaking about a loop, by continuous training. So you use the outcomes directly as input again.
No. So let me clarify. So what I was explaining is that when you do a task, you go from task A to task B to task C to task D, right? So for the example that I've given of designing a business model, we're not creating a loop. So we have a first step, and we use the result of that first step to inject inside the second step, and then inside the third one and the fourth one. But we're moving forward. We're not caught in a loop. We're moving forward from a general idea to something that is more precise. So in the example of business model, what is the big idea? What are the products? What are the revenues? What are the processes? And finally, we put everything together. And what is the business canvas? Yeah. Sorry if I wasn't clear when I explained the business model.
What do you think of using ChatGPT-like tools in marketing? Because I do feel that all outputs of marketing communications when using ChatGPT-like tools or generative AI tools in image generation, they become all alike. If you ask DALL-E 3 to come up with an image, then they all look alike. And if you generate, I would like to generate some content for my Instagram page, you will get, you can basically, detect whether it's generated by a person or that is being generated by AI.
So there was a great story that happened to me in one of our training, because we do a lot of our corporate training. And at the end of that training, I asked a lady, so what was your takeaway from today? And her takeaway was like, wow, what I produced today with GPT doesn't sound like GPT. And I said, what do you mean? She said, all over social media now, all over LinkedIn, every single article, I can smell them. They all generated by GPT. Then I asked her, what do you think was the difference? She said, oh, I know, because I came to your training. I said, thank you very much. But is there another reason? And then she thought about it. I'm using your framework. I said, yes, okay, that is true. I said, no, there's a very important reason. You spent 6 minutes on your prompt, and you made it better. And you really, I talked earlier about the context. You really gave the context of what you wanted to do, the tone of voice. So I said, writing a blog article, generative AI can help you to go from 1 hour to 6 minutes. But I think most people who are publishing those like all looking alike articles on Instagram and on LinkedIn, they went from 1 hour to 10 seconds. They don't take the time. They don't take the time to put ideas. They don't take the time to really put their soul into it. And what do I want to say? Do I have a message into the world? And now I think now we're talking about a loop, because I even know some people that have fully automated their LinkedIn. They let the AI go and choose the trend and the topics, and then come out with the illustration, and then write the article. And there's no human in the process. It's soulless. It's just there's just nothing into there. Now, being in marketing and having a message, generative AI can help you to proofread, can help you to maybe balance a little bit, propose some ideas, but there needs to be a bit of time. There's to be a bit of sweat into it. Otherwise, indeed, it's soulless, completely copy and paste, and absolutely and utterly not interesting.
I always see these blog posts ending up, in conclusion. Somehow it always ends the very same thing. Edward, you had a question popping in from the audience?
Yes, we have some questions popping in, but I particularly like this one by Akshay Shah. And he asks you, when developing business models with GenAI, how do problems such as lack of local and unique nuances, AI hallucinations, and moving variables within the business environment be considered? Would it not be a shallow exercise of developing business models? And maybe I can post the second one, because it's okay. It builds onto it.
So again, the AI is not developing the business model. The human is developing the business model. So about being in the local environment and this understanding of the local peculiarities of the business model, but also the expertise in industry comes from the human. It doesn't come from the LLM. The LLM is there to make that process faster and in most cases more structured. It may take you 20 minutes to figure out what you need to put in your business canvas, but the LLM will do it in one go. So you've saved 10 minutes. And again, you're not going from 5 hours to 2 seconds. You're going from 5 hours to half an hour. It's what I think it's what Jordi said in his presentation. It's AI augmented humans. It's like somebody who knows what they're doing. We're an expert at something. Then collaboration with AI, they're going to be faster and they're going to be more efficient and they produce higher quality results. What's the second one?
Now, basically, you answered the second one because there was this concern if we would end up with an LLM being a hall of mirrors. But you spoke about that. You have to put in effort and time to train it. Then you get your unique responses. So thank you.
Yeah. So your suggestion is basically to put everybody back to school and learn how to prompt as a second language.
And prompt in your own language, So it's not really a language. We see it. I see it more as a way of structuring the information, And I also had that remark in one training when I said the most important thing is to give context. You never give enough context. And somebody came back to me and said, yeah, actually, you know what? Humans also do that to other humans. They assume, they make a lot of assumptions, and they never give enough context. And managers never give enough context to their subordinates. So it's actually just a way of communication, of being crystal clear in what you want and giving orders to the machine. And again, with that slide where I give the ERCFC, just with that single slide, without coming to any training, you can improve the efficiency of your prompts already by at least 50%. Just being structured in the way, because never ever forget that you are talking to a machine. This is a machine. This is a statistical model that works for you.
So,
or is supposed to.
Coming back to the competitive advantage, so we still have a competitive advantage as a human over AI, the human touch and the creativity and hopefully explain the context of certain decisions that we need to take. Luis in Barcelona, do you have a question for Stephane? And if he doesn't have a question, then we can move on to the next speaker. Stephane, thank you for your contribution. And we definitely would like to reach out if you want to learn more about prompt engineering. Then we can find your contact details in the LinkedIn profile, right?
Yes.
Okay.
With great pleasure. Yes.
Thank you.